Hi, it's Kirby Summers. Today is Saturday, May 10th, 2025. And, I was not going to do a podcast. However, some things sort of kind of like came into my mind, and I tweeted a little bit of this earlier today, and I thought I would sort of share it with you in the event you didn't see my tweets. And so basically, the question is, was a Satanic curse put on Virginia Roberts Giuffre? And I'm going to go over some information that would make me think, yeah, I think so. Uh, However, what I want to do, because I haven't done it in a while, is, and bear with me because my notes are insane today, is I need to get some, it's funny because I've been trying to do this now for an hour, and every time I get started, my computer crashes. So I'm not going to turn it off right now. I just want you to sort of like bear with me until I get the things that just keep opening and closing, and I don't think it's a coincidence. So, all right, well. So what I want to say is, and again, forgive me for this delay. So here, that's Anton LaVey. And I think all of you are aware that Anton LaVey um, was born on April 11th, 1930th. And I have to use this stupid code, sorry. And his last day on Earth was October 29th, kind of close to Halloween. So, one of those days, 1997. And he was an Satanist and known as the evilest man in the world. Now, if you notice the signal, we've been seeing a lot of that signaling with Jay-Z and with the crowd in Hollywood and everything. Now, here we have Gloria Steinem doing the same hand signal. It's for the people that they worship. These people are like truly across the board. That's what they all are. That's who they worship. And the I had an abortion thing. So while I am concerned about getting into it, I think that most of you might know what they do with the aborted fetuses. I'm going to leave it there. However, I want to remind you that Steinem was not only outed as being a CIA asset in the 1960s, but later the person who funded Ms. Magazine was Mort Zuckerman. Now, Mort Zuckerman is a friend of not only J.E., but also, if you look at the bottom of this, which is the cover photo for this podcast, on the left and on the bottom, you see Virginia, flanked by her attorneys. On the left is David Boies. And on the right is Brad Edwards. And behind him, where I have the little arrow, is J. Stanley Pottinger, who passed away. I think it's November 27th or 28th of just last year. However, if you look at the upper right-hand corner, you'll see that that is a younger Pottinger who dated Gloria Steinem, CIA asset, for about 9 years. And so, what I want to say here is that Vicky Ward made allegations, and you know that Vicky Ward wrote some of the early articles about J.E., and she said that he was a thug, and he said that not only did he threaten to sue her, but he threatened to put a hex on her unborn children. He said, I know all the doctors in this town. And she says that the stress of dealing with him led to her twins being 2 months premature. So basically, he threatened to put a hex, a demonic spell, on her unborn children, and that this crossed all normal boundaries. And at that quote, it, according to Vicky Ward, it became an obsession for him. He wanted to know who her doctor was, where her babies were going to be delivered, and then he said, I know all the doctors in this town. And this was basically said to her in 2002. Now, Virginia certainly has had her share of really bad luck, okay? Now, this is a photograph of her in 2020. Um, she had suffered a broken neck. She also says on her Instagram that's connected to this photograph that she has, quote, a bionic spine, trying to put a good twist on it the way she always did. We all now know that she was in an abusive relationship at home, and this was known by her attorneys at the moment they became involved with her, which is 2015, as far as David Boies and J. Stanley Pottinger. Now, I want to remind you guys that Maria Farmer said that when she left, as per J.E.'s instructions, to go to Leslie Wexner's 40,000 square foot guest house in New Albany, Ohio, where she was supposed to be in an art project there under his wife, who they both claim they never met her, but Maria has a driver's license with their address on it, so who's telling the truth? In any event, what she said was that Juan Alessi had somehow taken over her apartment in New York, and that when she returned to New York, um, that his son, Juan Alessi, had painted the entire apartment black. Now, if that doesn't scream the S word and the unusual goings on that these people practice, I don't know what does. Now, that is a statue that J.E. had on Little St. James, so on his private island. Uh, Does that look familiar to you, perhaps? You know, the hooded cape and robes worn during the kind of SRA ritualistic situations that happen, let's say, in places like the Grove, the letter starts with a B, that were explained to everyone by Paul Benassi when he made the allegations that in the Franklin situation that it was SRA, you know, and that there was all of that. And, you know, somehow Wikipedia will still tell you that, oh, Franklin was a hoax, that it was not real. Well, you know, I don't know. I'm beginning to think that, here, I just want to show you a younger Pottinger with Gloria Steinem. Now, we now know that Pottinger, not only does David Boies refer to him, well, he's no longer alive, but he referred to him as his private 007, as I discussed with Professor Hamamoto on my live of a couple of days ago. However, I think we now know that Pottinger was also very much involved with the three-letter agency for the duration of his adult life, starting way back. I think even before, I would have to get my notes on that, and I'm afraid to look at anything else on my computer because it will shut down. I like what's going on anytime I try to share information with you guys is insane. Okay, it's insane. So I'm just going to keep going. Um, he is clearly a CIA or was and had several lifetimes. Now, it's my understanding he also knew J.E. during the 1980s. I believe his situation started even before Richard Nixon. And as I stated while on my live with Professor Hamamoto the other day, well, Stanley Pottinger was brought in by someone else who I'm going to leave unnamed right now, but who is again connected to the Franklin case. So we have Pottinger connected not just to the Franklin situation, but connected to the JE situation. And then, lo and behold, he becomes the attorney for not just the most prominent victim, Virginia, but several other of the ladies. How is that? And this is like a group that worships the most evil things on the planet. So we have an ongoing fight between good and evil, and we have people that should never have represented Virginia. And so my question becomes, did she have a string of bad luck because, like J.E. Threatened earlier with someone else that he was going to put a hex on her, and this is the life they believed. This is what they believed. Now, for those of you who are on my Substack and you have been reading my information, in Deconstructing Wexner, I add that Wexner had a different name. It's only been revealed on my Substack. Nobody else, literally nobody else has revealed this name. Not one person except for myself. However, there was a painting. It had, in paintings, I think most of you are beginning to understand there are hidden meanings. And in this particular painting, there was a hidden meaning about a certain entity that Leslie Wexner possesses. And the entity is known as a DEMON. I apologize that I have to spell because this platform is very unusual. We cannot really just say what we want to say. However, it's not just any one of those entities. It stands for the grandest one of them all, specifically MOLOCH. And that is the name that I share in part 1 of Deconstructing Wexner, which is, I don't know, 15-part series at this point, and I'm not finished. That is what J.E. and Ghislaine Maxwell refer to him as. Now, I had other photos that I had uploaded here to share with you, showing that in Ghislaine's townhouse, she hung on the wall of her living room, which, by the way, that wall was painted blood red. She hung a skull. And I had it uploaded, but this podcast almost did not happen. And so, but the photograph, while it was presented, the one that shows a very unusual entity inhabiting Wexner, it was shown at Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, but not for that purpose, for other things. The trial, as far as I'm concerned, was a sham. It is a sham. It continues to be a sham. And I understand she's asking her friend Donald Trump to allow her to go home, but we'll see what happens. So, I mean, this poor girl, so she's entrapped at the age of 16. By 19, she is sent to Thailand, where she is supposed to be taking the massage course and where she is supposed to be bringing back another girl, which is part of how these things are run. You are taught, like Paul Benassi was taught all of them are taught, you have to bring in, because who is going to trust a teenager or a young child more than another child? So in Paul Benassi's case, just to remind you or tell you for the first time, he is alleged to have been part of the people with two grown men who ensnared Johnny Gosch, who was, I believe, he was 12, but he was little for his age, I think. I don't have the notes in front of me, but so, they use these children to ensnare other children. And that is what Virginia had done, as all of them who were in this thing for a long time. You bring your friends. And if you are not going to engage in all of the activities that are required, well, then I'll pay you $300 and just bring your friends, and that's fine. We won't bother you, but just keep bringing your friends, which is what a lot of them did. So, I mean, how does Virginia go on? She's beaten up all the time. She has the worst luck in the world. She perseveres. She moves forward, despite the fact that none of the people that surround her appear, to me at the very least, to have her best interests at heart. And we lost her. We lost her on April 25th. And my mind is still reeling from what really could have been prevented, because suddenly she finds herself in the system where she's lost her children, where she's estranged from her husband, who she covered for many years. She ends up with an abuser. I'm just still very annoyed. So the question becomes, hey guys, look at this. Look at Gloria Steinem. Look at Anton LaVey. Look at their hand signals. Look who's representing her. I put a little red arrow next to Pottinger, although it doesn't mean that the others are different. In my opinion, they're the same. Do you think that it's possible that, there was like some hex put on her, the way that J.E. threatened to put on Vicky Ward? Because here I have it right here. You can read it again. The Venomous Epstein Tapes by Vicky Ward. Strangest of all, he threatened to put a spell on my unborn children. This crossed all normal boundaries, and it even became an obsession for him. He wanted to know who my doctor was, where the babies would be delivered, and he warned me. I know all the doctors in this town. And then a reminder, that's on his private island. Okay, well, I'm not going to belabor the point. I am going to leave this short. I do want to, however, let you know that on Wednesday, I am going to be doing a live stream with Kevin Annette, and I'll be putting up a notice. He's going to be exposing all of the uh, horrible secrets of the Catholic Church, and that's Wednesday, May 14th at 10 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. All right, guys, well, I am looking forward to your commentary on this question, and I'm going to put it back up there. All right, you guys stay well, huh? All righty, till next time. Bye.